Hi, parents. It's me, Mr. Reese. I wanted to share with you some information that I shared with students about 2 weeks ago. One of the things that I've always emphasized is helping students gain voice and independence as they progress through middle school. And so I talked to them about taking control over their grades. And so I'm going to share with you some of the things that I shared with them during their lunchtime while they were with me the other day. So, when a student needs to check their grades, we encourage students to go into their student Skyward account. When they go in, they're going to see that icon right there on the left. And they're going to log in using their student credentials. And then they're going to click on the box that says grading. This will give them access to all of their grades. Once they're in there, they select a given class. Remember, they're going to look at right now T1, which means term one. As we move into the next quarter, they're going to look at T2 grades. Now you can see this student's grades right here, they're pretty good. They have one low grade there, that's 78. And so if they click on that 78, they're going to see exactly what that assignment was and why it might be low. So when they open it up, that 78, they get to see all of their assignments that were there. And really what is affecting this student's grade the most is that zero that's sitting there. Their test average is pretty good. Their quiz average is pretty good, but they have that zero in their T1 column. And we're going to talk a little more about how that affects their overall grade. So when they see those zeros are killer to their average. Usually a teacher puts a zero in when they are completely missing the work. The student has not turned anything in. It's well past the due date. And so you can see this student on the left over here. You can see the effect that that zero has on the student's overall average. As an example, there are 5 grades in there. They have 100, a 0, 100, a 95, and a 90. Overall, this should be an A student, but because of that zero, that A student wound up with the C. Let's take a look at another example. This student had an 87, an 88, an 85, and an 82, pretty much a solid B student, but because they didn't turn in that one assignment, that zero averages out to a 68. So that B student ends up with a failing grade. Let's use a different example. So what happens if the student turns it in late and they only get half credit? Well, that can have a big impact too in whether or not they are able to pass the course. So let's look at their average for if they just get the 50. So if they get the 50, here's that same student. They have that 100, that 50, that 100, that 95, and that 90. Their average went from a 77 all the way up to an 87. So that student is still on track at the semester to pull in that A, even though they only got half credit for that one assignment. They got a 50. The other example of that B student, that 87, 50, 88, 85, and 82. That 68, which was a failing grade, went all the way up to a 78. Once again, this student is still on track at semester to get their B average. And so we want to make sure that students have every opportunity to be successful. We want them to get their work in, even if they're not getting full credit, because some credit is better than no credit. Now, this is what I told students to do when they find those zeros or those missing grades. Step one, I told them you need to look for the assignment. You know, some middle school students don't have the best organizational skills. And while we work on that many times, in their head, they've done the assignment. It could be sitting in their binder or in their backpack. It could be in their Google Classroom and they forgot to hit the submit button or to turn it in. So the step one, I have them look for their assignment. I told them they need to look for it. If they find it, turn it in. If they complete it, they didn't find it and they hadn't had it done and they complete it, they need to email their teacher to let them know it was turned in either way. Step two is if they have further questions and they think there may have been a possible mistake, they should email the teacher. I actually gave them some very specific ways on how to email their teacher. This is a great skill for students to have as they progress through middle school so that it's mastered by the time they get to high school. So I told them to write a clear subject line. They're going to use their school email in Launchpad. All middle school students have access to a student email. They're going to include a proper email greeting with their teacher's name. They're going to remind their teachers who they are and what period they're in. Told them to get to the point, provide specific titles, and then end your email politely and thank them and indicate that you appreciate them. And then they're going to proofread it and send it. After I did that, I gave them some specific examples. Hello, Miss Burciaga. It's me, Fernando, in your second period class. I'm writing to let you know that I turned in the vocabulary assignment yesterday. I saw that it was a 0 in Skyward. Let me know if you didn't get it or if there was an issue. Thank you, Fernando. Here's a second example. Hello, it's me in your second period class. I'm writing to let you know that I believe I did already turn in the vocabulary assignment on Friday. It's listed as a 0 in Skyward. Let me know if you did or did not get it, or if there's another issue, and then they sign it. I also let students know, teachers have a week to grade assignments. If you turn something in on a due date, by the next week, okay, 7 days later, teachers should have that grade in Skyward. What sometimes students don't understand is they find this, maybe mom and dad noticed there was a 0 there, they got in trouble at home, they turned it in the next day, and then that afternoon, they're emailing their teacher saying, why haven't you put it in yet? Well, teacher still has 7 days from the time it was turned in to get it turned in. So I let students know that they also need to be patient. They need to let teachers know that it's there, which is the purpose of the email. Keep this in mind. Our teachers are working hard. They have about 150 kids that they're overseeing. If something was submitted through Google Classroom or put on the missing work pile, a teacher doesn't automatically know that it was turned in. This email alerts them so that they can look for it and get it graded as quickly as possible. I also went over the use of planners. Now, we purchased these planners for our students because we want to help them develop their skills in organization and self-advocacy as they advance through our program. So I told the kids the use of a planner is required in our program. It is not an option. They're to use them every class, every day. Teachers are doing weekly planner and grade checks, and we want them to have these skills needed for time management and academic success. Uh, we need your help with this too, because if students know that you're checking their planners, they're going to be more inclined to make sure they're complete. There is also a weekly grade check in there. Teachers are going through and having kids write down missing assignments, assignments that need to be made up. If there's a long-term project, it's in there. If there's tutoring times and they're required to be at tutoring, it should be in there. We need your help in monitoring this and reinforcing that this is an important skill we want them to develop. So I told them the success is there for them. These are great students and we appreciate them very much. We want them to use their class time wisely. They need to do the work in the format the teacher requires. Sometimes students want to submit something in Google Classroom when the teacher has told them specifically that it needs to be submitted paper and pencil or needs to be brought in. Whatever format the teacher requires for submission is what needs to be used. Just because it's in Google Classroom doesn't mean that's where you turn it in. So we encourage them to listen to and follow the directions for submission. Told them to get it done because they are the best, but they still got to show us that they're the best. So I hope this is helpful for you. I hope it gives you some information on ways that we're trying to encourage students to be successful. And I hope it gives you some good talking points to have with your students. Thanks for watching this, and thank you very much for choosing to attend the Design and Technology Academy.